Okay, welcome everybody, or I should say, maybe welcome to you if you're the one person actually listening to this podcast. This is the first in a series of podcasts to try and bring a bit of cricketing action, if you like, to your front rooms whilst we're all stuck inside. Based loosely around some of the more memorable national knockout games that we've seen at North Parade and other venues over the years. Obviously, if you are listening to this, you'll probably have some affiliation to Bath Cricket Club, and you probably know that this is kind of one of the biggest carrots out there for us, or for Bath, as I should say now, as a former player, as a club. And having not actually won it, come very close. We've obviously played a lot of really good games. So what better way to kick off this series than to start by introducing the man himself, who's probably been at the centre of a lot of these games. He is a bit of a legend in club circles, and he always likes to tell us all about it as well, because he's a bloke. I guess I should say former for yourself as well now. But 2008 made his first appearance for Bath, and he played for 11 years after that, 12 years after that. 11 years? 12 years, 11 years. It's Adam Kelly. Adam, good evening, my friend.
Good evening, Robin.
How you doing, all right?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. What's this coronavirus isolation been like for you?
Just challenging as always, but been quite lucky with both me and my wife working from home, so it's kind of, at least we're both in the same boat. But it's just managing the 3-year-old is probably the harder part. But yeah, just like everyone else, I suppose. He's got small children and stuck in a house.
Missing cricket?
I haven't actually done any training, so since the last game last year, I haven't done anything. But I would imagine if I had done some training, I would be getting itchy by now.
Yeah, usually this sort of time of year that you start thinking about making your comeback, isn't it? Not this time. Are we still definitely down? Mounty gives you a call in July and says, "Kegsy, we've got a 9-game season, mate. Desperately need the big man to take the knee ball." That's not happening.
No. Life and body isn't quite 100% up to it anymore, and spending time with the family's getting more important. So it's got to a point where there's only so many whole days I can take off to go away as well. So yeah, shame, because lots of good friends and always still like the challenge, but yeah, body's not quite can't quite produce, and also want to spend time with Nicola and Phoebe. So. Though after God knows how many weeks we're going to be locked in the house together, that might change.
Yeah, mate. Well, let's just be very careful about what we say, because on the off chance that there is someone listening, we've got to say all the right things, haven't we? What you mean is you can't wait to spend the next 2 months at home with Vic.
Yes.
So getting stuck in then. Now I've got a little, got a bit of info up on here, mate, because obviously you'd take a lot of wickets for the club. But a little bit of trivia. Do you know how many league wickets? Well, I don't know why I'm asking that question, because you know how many league wickets you had. Do you want to tell the nice people at home how many league wickets you got?
In Prem 1 would be 358.
358. That is not a bad effort. That is not a bad effort, if I say so myself.
Thanks.
If you are a young bowler out there, I'm sure that you have been told about this man. If you haven't, a more hardworking, decent, consistent bowler you won't find anywhere. But more importantly than that, I think for everyone that played with you, and certainly myself included, we can never for a second think that at any point in any game you ever played, you weren't given 100%. And I think in league cricket, that's something that's pretty rare, mate. So you deserve every part of that record that you have. And I don't think anybody's going to be challenging you for it for a while. Do you know?
Probably not this year after most of it's wiped out.
Who's second? My research.
Will Rudge would be my guess. I think Will's
Don't worry
closest.
about him, mate. He's down in Prem 2 with me now.
Yeah, yeah. Plus Will's like me. He's slowly body's slowly giving up. I think.
Oh, mate, I had a few battles with him over the years.
Yeah,
Nice
yeah.
bloke, good bowler. But right, well, as it is a national knockout podcast, doing that in commas because it's not really a podcast. It's sort of just me chatting to you on the phone. But if I can take you back to June the 28th, 2009, you've been playing for the club for about a year or so. Did you kind of appreciate at that time how important the national was for the club?
I think that season probably was like the big triggers. For my first year, I think we got knocked out in the first round, so there was no cup run.
Cardiff.
Cardiff away, and then the second year, 2009, we got on a bit of a run by the time we got to that. What happened in 2009, we went on a run. I think we got to the semi-finals that year. Yeah. So as you get through the rounds and you start playing, I think it also helped playing at home. So like when you play away at Cardiff, like we did the year before, obviously this is just another game. But when you play at home in front of a bigger crowd than normal, really makes you realise the importance of it, and then also helps having sort of players around the team that have been on cup runs before as well, and sort of emphasising that. Definitely that year was definitely the sort of a big sort of realisation of how big this is for us.
Some of the names in the team sort of are going to be quite. Sorry about that. Some notifications, probably should have turned them off. Some of the names in the team around that sort of time, a lot of people will be pretty familiar with JC, Statey and McGlashan in there, Lloydie, of course, James Brown, yourself. Vic Banerjee played a lot for us. He couldn't play in the national because he was a pro at the time, but he was in Staunts as well. So we had a good side, but of course our national side in that season in particular was obviously weakened a little bit by the fact that you take Pete McGlashan, an international keeper batsman, and the best left arm spinner in the league in Banners, out of the team, and it does obviously make things a little bit more difficult. I've got we talk about the 28th of June there, which we'll get to in a minute, but the day before we had a league game against Corsham, and I've just got the scorecard up here, and it is a very different looking lineup to the one that we played on the following day. Do you remember Thorby, our fearless leader? Do you remember his fitness plan that year in terms of games played? Do you remember how that panned out?
I don't remember him playing. I remember him playing some games, but not a lot. His knees were absolutely in pieces. So I tended to stay with him on the year before in 2008. I stayed with him and Helen at their place after some of the games if we were playing up in Bath. And you could barely walk down the stairs then, and then he turns up again the next year being captain and going again. So it's like it's not going to go well. But I remember him. I remember the day. The difference between the two sides that day was stark. That was,
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're talking in terms of maybe the sort of man for man, but we had plenty of good cricketers in that side.
Oh yeah. Like all those people, all those guys would have been in the first team in every other club side. It was just for our club side, at our strongest. It was a big change, and like I say, it happens in a day from, and that changes like plans of how you're going to approach things, and you have to take other things into consideration, even little things like when you're running with someone, if you've done or batted with them before, where like yourself and JC would have batted a lot together, you wouldn't what each other are going to do. Just little things like that would have made a difference as well.
Yeah, familiarity and confidence in the bloke next to you. Too big in league cricket. I mean, so the day in question that we're talking about, 28th of June 2009, was the day we played Sully Centurions in the last 32, I think it was.
Regional final, I think,
Regional final. And a bit of background, obviously, for those of you who don't remember our two battles with Sully in those 2 years. They were kind of a bit of a sort of a myth, really. They kind of dominated village cricket, and they won the Village Cup to the dismay of a lot of people in the competition because, although technically speaking they were a village, they had a ridiculous sort of pool of talent, and paid a lot of their players to play, and sort of they had that kind of swagger about them. Absolutely, as I said, walked through the village knockout the previous year. They had guys like Mike O'Shea, sort of previously of Glamorgan, Andrew Davis, another one there, two Sylvester brothers, Lloyd Smith. Like, they just had a really good side.
Alex Ward for second year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Alex Ward as well. Although I don't think he played on that day himself. And, we talked about Thorby a little bit earlier. I'm just going to keep going off, by the way, that ding. There's not a lot I can do about it. The thing about Thorby was, as well, is that he very much sort of tried to prioritise that season because his knees were so bad, and he was our captain. At the time, he tried, at that stage of the season, sort of June kind of time, when you're still challenging for the league title, which didn't work out for us that year, he was sort of concentrating on the league. So that game was my first ever game captain in the club. And I remember being a lot more invested in the results than perhaps I usually would be. If I run you through the team, actually, I tell you what, let's play a little bit of missing man, Kegs. So I will give you 7, and if you can get any of the other 4, that's good. If you can get all 4, then we know you are definitely King Badger of Bath Cricket Club. So here we go. Or maybe you've just looked at this scorecard too many times over the last 11 years. All right, so number 1 was JC. Number 2 was?
I imagine you.
No, mate. The captain just slid himself down.
Dodged the bullet. Looked at the opening bowler marking his run up on the edge of the 30-yard disc and went, "Now go down the order."
I'll give you a clue.
Stu Prescott.
Yes, well, the clue was going to be favoured the double bouncing left arm spin and helmet. Yeah, Percy was at 2. Then it was me, Lloyd, and Greeny 3, 4, 5. I mean, Greeny, if you're listening, mate. You can't ever say that I never did you a favour. I mean, you're back in my first ever team in a national knockout group final, mate. So number 5. Number 6, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 7, which is Griff. 8 is yourself. 9 is Marchie. If you can give me any of the other 3, I'll be...
So Chris Davis would be one of them, because I was batting with him at the end.
Well, we'll get on to Chris Davis, because Ealing 09 is also in this series.
Yeah, Chris. Dom Farris, he damaged his ankle.
Yeah.
Well, quite badly.
That'll come up as we go forward. But yeah, Dom Farris, good. Can you name the 11th man?
David Catlow.
You've how many have you got this pinned up on your?
No, because David Catlow said something to me after the game, which I will never forget. But I don't think it's repeatable on the podcast.
Yeah, well, this is a family podcast, Adam. I don't have to bleep anyone out. So, given the fact that you've only ever sworn in the face of batters that you've just got out, I imagine you find a good way of articulating yourself without swearing.
Yeah.
Go on then. What did you say?
No, I really can't repeat any of it. But yeah, he was very happy. He was very happy about the outcome of the game.
Right.
It was very much that the memory of that conversation post game. It's why it stuck in my head. It's weird. I remember certain bits of that. I don't remember the caution the day before. Couldn't tell you a thing what happened there. I probably could if I looked at the scorecard because I'm a bit of a badger, as it's well documented.
We chased 170, 5 down.
Is that was Glash whacking it at the end?
Glash. Well, I'm exceptionally well prepared on this podcast, Kegsy. So I'm looking at the scorecard right now.
Oh, and was this the one with Henry Thomas played as well?
No, not for us anyway. No, Glash definitely whacked it because he's got 47 off 26 balls here.
Yeah.
We got James Campbell just boring people to tears with 41 off 68.
Standard.
Statey opening the batting. I just don't know. How did he open the batting so often? I don't know. Anyway, Statey opened the batting. He got. He's another one who was missing from the national that
year. Yeah, that was. Didn't he play a first class game early in the season?
Yeah,
for Gloucester, and then he couldn't play.
Yeah, that's right. He played. I think he might have played an early championship game, and then couldn't play, which is a shame.
Because I swear when we played South Wilts, he was due to play, and then the umpire said he couldn't because he played a championship game or something. Yeah, and Brownie played. Greg Brown got pulled on to play, even reluctantly.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember that. Well, listen, that game the day before, you only picked up 3 wickets, mate. So not a great day at the office for you, if we're being honest. You did manage to keep them under 3s, which was fairly.
Oh right, that's right. What were the figures?
These are back in the days when you used to bowl with the keeper back and stuff, but 3 for 38 off 13. God, yeah. Tell you the bowlers got flogged in the old 55 over days, didn't they?
I quite liked it as a bowler. I quite liked having the more overs, just because then I could get more wickets. It's a lot harder with the 10 overs. Yeah, there's a lot more time in the field as well. It's like there's extra 6 overs now. I've got to stand in the field.
Definitely, the 55 overs was rough on an opening batter.
Yeah,
because rarely did I ever make it past sort of 25, 30 overs. But that you'd be fielding 55 because every time we batted first, just blocked it out for the rest of the game. Anyway, so Adam Kelly. 28th of June. Right, we should actually probably get into this at some point. So now I cannot remember whether we won the toss or not, to be honest. And it doesn't say on my little summary sheet here. So I'm going to just pretend that we won the toss.
That sounds like what we would probably... I don't know, actually.
Elected to field first. Well, in any case, Sully batted. Yeah. I remember they arrived on the day with a big bus full of supporters, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they all had their own sort of barbecues and their own beer. And I just remember nobody from Sully or any of their fans going into the clubhouse to buy a pint or day. I don't know why that's...
Yeah.
But do you remember what happened in the first over? Bear in mind that this team that we're playing against very top heavy. They've got this sort of top 4 that are kind of indestructible in their own league, which was the South Wales Prem or whatever it was back in those days. Do you remember what happened in the first over?
Yeah, I got lucky. I got 2 wickets. I remember the before we got out to actually at the toss. Didn't you have a bit of a? Didn't their captain come over? The way I described Sully that day was a bit brash. Like they turned up thinking we're just going to smash these boys, and we can do what we like, and that started from the first sort of interaction. I remember you coming back kind of like not shy in terms of basically come over and told you you're not allowed to play or something.
Yeah, their captain made a mistake that really I can only imagine he had made. Which for some reason he thought that I'd played a game for Somerset like at any point in the previous 3 years, which obviously is not true. But so he sort of started telling the umpires that I wasn't allowed to play and all this, that, and the other. But yeah, in the end, obviously, nothing came of it. But they very much kind of everybody at the ground that day was very much aware of what sort of kind of team we were facing. And as the drama of the day sort of unfolded, the closing moments of that game, which we'll get onto in a minute, kind of make you smile when you think back. But our first over, I'm looking at our team here. I'm looking at the bowlers we used. So we used 6 bowlers. We had yourself, Lloydie, Greenie, Chris Davis, Cy Marchant, and Dom Farris played 2 overs as well. Game. But I sort of knew that really we had to make the 45 overs work with U5. And obviously your best bowler at the time, you need to step up, and that was you in our team, whoever was playing, and
only because we're missing so many players moved up to number 1 bowler.
I'm not sure about that, Kegsy. I mean, fielding its first slip to you, I remember your first game that you played for us in the league. I got a catch off you at slip, and then I don't think I got another one for the next 11 years.
Yeah,
I
about
don't know
right.
where you've burgled these 358 wickets from.
Wait, half
But
volleys. Everyone practices. Everyone practices good length. No one practices the half volley.
well, see, I remember that. I don't remember the first one when you cleaned up Ryan Sylvester.
He
But
played on. It was like I remember. I don't know why, but I do remember that one and the other one. I don't remember
didn't he?
and I don't remember much else about it. But I remember Ryan Sylvester playing on because after the game he told me that if I hadn't got him out, they would have won the game. I thought that was quite a big comment for someone that got out after I think 3 or 4 balls.
That's a big shout, that isn't it?
Yeah, so he played on.
He was the bloke who'd got all their runs all season. I remember in a massive wicket at the time.
Yeah, just nipped in a bit, and he just come off the inside edge. It was going through the gate anyway, but yeah.
And then Lloyd Smith nicked off.
Yeah, which is rare. I think. Yeah,
he
must have been playing down the wrong line or something if he's nicked off because I never really moved the ball away.
No, I can't imagine. There was any movement there. Yeah, well, mate. Look, so a perfect start, ideal start for us, really. 1 for 2, and we had a little partnership, 60 between 2 and 4. And then what looks like a run out by Dave Catley. Remember that? Remember Cats getting anywhere? I can't remember that one.
I can't remember the run out.
We got a run out from Cats, and then I remember Marchie bowling really well that day. Figures say 2 for 32, but that would have been quite early on, I think, in Marchie's kind of time in the first team at least. And I think I remember he had a bad start. He had his first over went for a few, and then I remember he came back and just bowled really, really well. And as he did in every round that summer, Chris Davis they couldn't get him off the square. Like he just bowled to that 7-2, and just no one used to be able to get him away, did they?
Yeah, it's very just like a proper horrible bowler. The one that you kind of you think you can whack at any point, but you can't. You just can't ever get hold of him. He just
nibbled it about, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit of nibble, a little bit of like change of pace, but don't know if it's deliberate. I think it's like he gets his wrist in the wrong position, so it's like a little bit slower, and he's just a little bit awkward.
Yeah, well, he just he did a job so often that year,
and he loved that as well because he used to play for Cardiff and he hated it. I mean, he absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that's right, he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I remember, he was good that day. He was really good in the next round at Taunton St Andrews as well, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
Very good.
And then again at Ealing, but he bowled well. Lloydie's got a couple of wickets on here as well, and I think we restricted them to 171, which if you kind of, I don't know how much things have changed, but definitely at the time, 170 seemed to be like between 170 and 190 just seemed to be the score, that was always posted in the first inning of these like national knockout games. I don't know what it was, but it was always like, even though it's kind of just under 4s, it just always felt like a really competitive total.
Yeah, it's slightly different now. The game has moved on slightly, and like the sort of professional game obviously moved on massively. And that's now filtering through to club cricket. So you see people playing scoops and stuff in club cricket and actually doing it well, where 10 years ago, no one played that shot. And like people rarely played reverse sweeps. Remember, like you're saying about Glash the day before, I remember him playing reverse sweeps at Caution for fun. And it was like, wow, how is he doing that? Now, everybody plays a reverse sweep. So it's it's starting to filter in. So but you're right about sort of 170, 190. Anything under 200 was still a good total. Now you 200 plus be a minimum in 45 overs.
We knew, of course, they had a good bowling attack as well.
Yeah, yeah, tasty.
And when you're sort of trying to chase down a score like that in the national, especially when you're at home, it's always more tense, when you're at home, isn't it? Just because the crowd sort of starts to gather after tea, typically in these games, isn't it?
Yeah.
You start to kind of feel the pressure, and obviously it's not helped when you're trying to chase it down with only 10 players, because Dom was rushed off to hospital, wasn't he? With was he dislocated his ankle or something? It was horrible.
He did. He went down pretty bad. His ankle was absolutely massive when we took him off the pitch. But he was gone. So we basically started the chase with 10 of us, and we
knew that, and they knew that as well. It does make a difference, especially when you kind of I mean, they wouldn't have probably known, what kind of player Don was, but they would have assumed that him being a top order batter. That's why Greeny's in there at 5, isn't it? I should have realised that. So kind of start the reply, and we've got sort of 29. So Percy and JC put on 29. Things seem pretty calm. We've got JC. JC gets cleaned up. I can only assume he was trying to whack one over mid wicket or something. He gets cleaned up for 12. I remember going in. I remember going in that day and sort of feeling very much more under pressure than normal. I guess probably due to the fact that kind of JC was our other sort of main batter, I guess, at the time. Lloydie became a much, much more prolific run scoring batsman sort of a few years after that. He was kind of the dream guy to come in at sort of 6 or 7 and finish a game off, wasn't he? But he's in batting 4. So I guess kind of, I remember feeling under a lot of pressure, and I remember them sort of coming at me quite hard. I can't remember. I couldn't tell you how I got out, but all of a sudden we find ourselves 96 for 6 and then 105 for 7. And most people tuning into this will probably assume, if they haven't heard about this game, that you did something brilliant with the ball. But that wasn't the case on this occasion, was it, Kegsy?
No, not so much. So more with the bat.
You're coming in at number 8. You're coming in at 95 for 6, but we all know that it's 95 for 7, really. Yeah. And I remember I was walking around the boundary with Mike Rowe, and I was basically just moaning at him probably about all kinds of different stuff. And I remember we got round to the scoreboard, and Katz was in, and we were sort of 90 for 5 or whatever. And I remember saying to him, like, if we lose another wicket here, we're toast. Like, we had a great opportunity. And he said to me, listen, this is the National. Anything can happen in the National. You just got to keep the faith. Like, as long as you're in with a chance, you're in with a chance. And of course, Katz gets out. And I don't know if you'll remember this, but you walked down the steps, famous steps, if you like, and walked out onto the field. And you looked over at me, and I was probably on where the seat is on the white wall, and you looked over at me, and I remember I must have given you like a little fist pump or like a little something. And I just honestly, I could just see like the whites of your eyes just staring right through me. I mean, what was it? What were you sort of thinking, feeling when you went out to bat that day?
I don't really remember much about the start. I remember certain bits during the innings, and I remember more about that. But generally, whenever I kind of went onto the field, whether it be bowling or batting, was very much there was one aim is to win the game, and that was it. And because of their brashness and whenever I played against a team that are good, that automatically makes me more want to win even more. And I already try as hard as I can, but that kind of pushes me even harder. And then when someone's rude or starts chirping me or becomes aggressive towards me, it makes me play better. I find it helps bring clarity. So like all the doubts, all the worries kind of go. And I kind of almost just it's kind of kind of an FU situation. Is like I'm gonna prove you wrong, and it's kind of like that kind of approach. So, but the downside of that is if that's not well regulated, is it doesn't work well. So as a bowler, I'm much better at being able to regulate that because you can make a mistake. So if you try too hard in your first over, you can rein it in the second over. But as a batter, if I try too hard early on and get out, I don't get a second chance. So it kind of, as a mentality, worked quite well as a bowler, but didn't really transfer into batting. But that day, it kind of did because I remember that being a general feeling, my feeling anyway. I don't know about other guys, but on the balcony, the more the innings went on, the more I got annoyed with them and their antics and how like their fans were not shy and they were quite aggressive. And you kind of just felt like it's getting a bit.
They thought they had the game won. I mean, they thought they had it wrapped up. I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't remember getting any abuse from them. I don't remember getting any sledging when I was out there, which is normally an indication of them thinking it's already done deal, so they don't really say anything to you.
no.
Um,
I remember because I knew Lloyd Smith a little bit because he was friends with my brother. They played in the same rugby team at school, and I remember just looking over at him at one point, and he just sort of gave me a little smile and a wink, and it was just, they knew they knew they had the game won. And when Griff went, shortly after you got there, it was 105 for 7, which we knew was 105 for 8 because Don wasn't going to bat. I mean, bless him, he came back in the changing room and put some pads on, but the bloke couldn't, he couldn't walk.
yeah,
So, the equation was we needed 66 off 9.
yeah,
Effectively 8 down against a really good attack, which included Adam Kelly, an overseas bowler
yeah.
who fancied himself as quite a quick bowler by the name of Thomas Edison, I believe. And he had a very long run up, didn't he?
Yes, that was very long.
he was he Zimbabwean?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I'd say Zimbabwean would be my guess.
Zimbabwean, and he was tearing like his sort of, he was on the discs, wasn't he? Sort of.
Yeah, it was definitely 30-yard disc, which when he was bowling from the road end, might as well have been the sight screen, really.
Which I guess played into our hands eventually as things went on.
Yeah, so it was weird because I was kind of aware that they were behind on time because I'm not sure if I overheard their conversations or whether someone on the balcony had told me. I think I might have been out there for a drink. I think someone ran a drink on or something. I remember something about the over rate being really slow.
So
So I'm not sure where that came from, but I was definitely aware of that.
I must have had a copy of Brownie's rule book or something because I became very aware of this rule, and it didn't, it only sort of came into. I started thinking about it a little bit more when, we started creeping closer. I just, before we get to that part, I mean the part that you and actually particularly Marchie played in getting us closer to the line was just, I mean, 66 off 9, 8 down, you don't really give yourselves much of a shot, especially when you don't have a recognised batter in there. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that you always sort of
No,
fancied,
yeah.
you
But
fancied yourself as a bit of a batter, didn't you, Kegsy?
yeah,
You had the mongoose and you had all the gear and
not then.
straight drive, but there wasn't much evidence to support that up until this
No,
point.
but yeah, I could hold a bat. It just
yeah.
never really fulfilled potential as a batsman. Mainly because I practiced it for 10 minutes a week, so that didn't really help a huge amount. But
10 minutes
without a recognised
more than
batter.
your partner at the time would have practiced. I think I got Marchie to have one net in 5 years, but
yeah,
Marchie's at the other end, and I'm sure Marchie won't mind me saying this. And if you are listening, Marchie, then you probably won't deny it. But Marchie didn't like anyone bowling at more than, say, Chris Davis's pace. I think fair, and the fact that you have a couple of quicks, and fair play to you. He just stuck in there. He seemed like he just stuck in there for ages.
Yeah, we've batted together quite a lot since that day. I think that might have been one of the first times I batted with Si. And yeah, over the years, the conversation when the opening bowlers come back at the end of the innings and we're both padded up, and they could he literally
Don't swear.
would be he'd be counting the balls down of this opening bowler who's come back, no matter who it was. And once they bowled their last ball, he was just like the celebration, like he'd just won the game. He was just like so happy he didn't have to face the opening bowler. If he had to go out and bat at the end of the innings, would be. And another time we were blocking out for the draw. I think at Frost or something. I think it was Froster because I got pinned by Ben Gannon, was just bowling bumpers for fun. And there was a spinner at the other end, and Marchie was just like point blank sat on his bat handle, like, no, you can handle Gannon's bounces. I'll face the spinner.
So,
but I'd be quite interested to see what Si remembers from this.
To be honest,
as
mate,
well.
knowing Si, I bet if you said to him, "Do you remember that game against Sully in 2009?" he would have absolutely no idea what you were talking about.
Yeah, probably.
And then this podcast would be very good with Marchie at the other end of the phone. But if you sort of take into account that sort of from 105 for 8, you guys put on 42 decent enough time. I mean, I just seem to remember you hitting a boundary every time. Every time we needed one, you managed to just get one through or just get one over, just at the right time, just to keep us breathing.
Yeah, so that at that point, I kind of remember everything. It's weird because I've even done sort of a lot of research and stuff in sports psychology. It's something that I've come across in other sort of areas. It's almost like it's kind of like everything's really clear, but you can take everything in at the same time. So it's weird. So I remember one boundary where mid off was up, and I'm not great at hitting over the offside at the best of times. I remember this bloke being out of position because he was back for me and up for Marchie, and he was up for Marchie. We'd taken a single and he hadn't moved, and the bloke's running into bowl. So I've just decided to just move away a little bit at the last second, sort of back away, and I've managed to somehow hit it over him. And they went mental at him because he was in the wrong place. Because I think by this point we'd put on 20 or 30, and they started to get a little bit edgy, and like little things like that. I remember, but normally, if I had noticed that person out of position, I might not have done anything about it because I don't really back myself. But I just remember everything being sort of clear. But I was aware that bloke was out of position, and like there was a spinner bowling one end at one point from the road, and I just remember probably a bit of a hoik over mid wicket, but mid wicket was still up. So I was like, well, I'm gonna have a dip here. And it was slightly outside the off stump, and he's bowling left arm spinners, so he's probably not going to hit the stump. So just have a free hit and just hoiking one over there, and that went away for 4. And it's like, yeah, those little things. It definitely wasn't intentionally in terms of a run chase at that stage of my career. I don't think I was that much with it in terms of a run chase to go, I need a boundary here. But it just, if an opportunity rose, and I kind of just remember saying with Marchie, we kind of just went, the longer we stay out here, the more they'll panic, and when they panic, they'll bowl bad balls. And that's kind of a bit of luck with things. So we'd get the odd, get a single to third man, which would be off an edge, or, run singles where we could. But just generally the idea was just to stay in and I'd try and get as many runs as I could. And Sully, to his credit, stuck around for ages, even when they brought back the quick bowlers. He still managed to stick in for a while.
So you get to 147 for 8. Which again is 147 for 9. I mean, I guess if scores had been level or whatever, Don probably would have come out, but he wasn't gonna. If we were 20 short, he was never going to come out and bat. So, 147 for 8, and Davo walks out, and if I didn't have a lot of faith, 100 for 7, Davo again. Mate, if you're listening, I apologise, but I had even less faith at 147 when you came out, because we still need to get a fair lick. I think we need the last 25 off 2 probably, or
2 or 3, yeah.
And that he's sort of stuck in there, and it whittled down. I mean, I guess it must have been sort of that Welsh rivalry sort of coming through, but the game whittled down to. We needed 16 off 7 balls, and they had like an off spinner bowling, and I just remember like he was batting at the road end.
Yeah,
and he just.
I know what you're going to say now.
Just like behind point.
It's the only shot David had was a cut or a late cut, and that was it.
He just like, I don't know, somehow just like stabbed it behind point, like between point and short third man, and it just. Running down towards the trees in that corner, and just somehow just like trickled across the boundary. And
we were quite far over on the square. We were towards the clubhouse side, so it was a slightly shorter boundary.
That's right.
That edge, and I remember it literally. I don't know if he said it to me in between that after that shot before the last over, or whether it was after the game. But he's just like, I can't believe they know I've only got one shot, and they've just bowled an off spinner who's bowled. Like at a normal off spin delivery, so I can get back and cut it. He's like, it's brilliant.
Well, this was kind of where things started to unravel for Sully. I mean, I guess they probably could have had the game wrapped up a lot earlier, but as soon as that ball hit the fence, I was down the steps and out onto the pitch, because I knew how far behind the rate they were. And at the time, the rule in the National, I don't know if it still is, but if you get to the last over and you're over in time, then it's a 6-run penalty, and then each over is supposed to take a certain amount of time. And they were so far over because this Zimbabwean guy had just kept running in off the fence. And he was bowling no balls and just making a mess of it. And they were so far over time that I actually thought that. I knew for a fact that they were over by so much that we should get 2 lots of 6 penalty runs, which would give us the win.
Yeah.
And I knew that, and Bob Hampshire, who was umpiring, probably knew that as well. But I mean, as packed of a house as you can have in club cricket, it was a packed house, and it's come down to the last over, and I'm out there, and he probably knows that it should be 12 runs. But how can you just say, right, well, shake hands? I mean, it's going to kick off, isn't it?
Yeah.
I got out there, and I had the rule book with me, and I just remember saying, no, this is the rule. This is what should be happening. And Bob called over their captain, who was Lloyd Smith, and Lloyd Smith said to me, "Oh, come on, Robin, you don't want to win this way." And I was like, "Well, I mean, it's dark. It's dark.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Quicker, we'd have been played in the light. The rule's the rule. I'm all one for fair play, but as I said, it was my first day as captain.
Yeah.
And I wanted the 12, but in the end we got 6. And so instead of needing 12 off the last, it was 6 off the last. And what Sully had done was they'd
miscounted their overs.
Yeah, they'd miscounted their overs. They had an over left behind, which they probably realised too late. And so Lloyd Smith, the captain, he bowled just some, medium pace, sort of nothing special, sort of medium paces, had to bowl it. And now he's bowling with 6 to defend instead of 12, and we're up in the change room, when I get back up there, and we're sort of saying to Dom, Dom, come on, mate, just if you go out there, just swing the bat, you don't have to move your feet, don't run, just swing the bat, you might get 5 chances to hit a 6. And at that point he's like, right, okay, look, I'll get out there somehow, I'll have a run. And we had a runner padded up, and I can't remember who it was. It must have been Lloyd or JC. Must have been. Looking through the rest of that. Percy, no. Greeny, no. Katz, no. Griff, no. Marchie, no. Chris, no.
Definitely, it'd definitely be Lloyd. It'd definitely be Lloyd or JC, because they're both pretty quick back then.
If I was choosing, it definitely wasn't me. So it must have been one of them, and they were padded up, ready to go. And I just, because of the animosity, and because of the way they'd conducted themselves, and because of the way their supporters had conducted themselves with our supporters, it was a real volatile atmosphere. So just talk us through those 3 balls if you remember them, because I do.
I think I missed the first one. I remember the first one outside off stump. I don't know what I've tried to do. I've just tried to hit the ball, I think, really. Actually, even before that, I obviously Lloyd come on to bowl, so I was like, I don't know what this bloke's bowling. I faced pretty much all the others. I didn't have a clue. So Chris Davo didn't have a clue either, because I get the impression he didn't bowl a lot, if at all. So he hadn't faced him, so we didn't really know what was going on. I remember the first ball I think it was sort of back of a length, and I've just tried to make contact. Essentially, at that point, he's trying to get a run a ball, missed it. Second ball, I think, was more at the body, and it's gone into sort of square leg somewhere, sort of dropped into the leg side. So taking a single, and now knowing what I now know about Davo's batting ability, I probably shouldn't have done that. But at the time, I didn't really know how good or bad Davo was. So I kind of went, yeah, that's fine, we'll take a single. Davo's on strike.
It's the right call as well, because you have to back the other bloke to get bat on. Because if he does, you're a boundary away. I mean, I guess you're away anyway, but it's easier boundary. But anyway, go on. Go on.
And it's sort of like saying, 3 balls before that, like you say, he played this cut shot that's gone for 4 for spinner, and he's pumped up to the eyeball, so he was more than happy for it. And then he's run one to third man, playing the only shot he played. I think he scored 10, something like that, and pretty much all of them come to third man. So he's run into
just before you. Just at the end of this ball, just give me a little pause. Go on.
Okay, yeah. So he's just run it to third man, and I've just proper excited that we've got a single. Davo's sort of well chuffed as well. You kind of in that moment, it's sort of nothing you say, but you get the impression the sort of feeling of just that's brilliant. Now I'm on strike. For me especially, was I'm in control of this situation now, because I'm not just sat at the other end. So yeah, that'll be the pause there, I think.
Yeah, which kind of, and I'll let you describe this moment first because we get down to needing 4 off 3 balls.
Yeah.
And I never before or since, I don't think I've experienced a reaction, like the one that we got. But we're all just like literally just white knuckles on the edge of the balcony, and you know, three balls to go. What happened next, mate?
So yeah, obviously just thinking bat on ball, not really thinking too. I'm thinking trying to hit it hard. Like I'm not thinking of taking a single at this point. I'm trying to think because obviously if we keep getting singles, we're going to be it's going to get even more tense. Not that it wasn't tense enough anyway, but it was outside off stump, sort of good length, maybe slightly back of a length, and I've kind of gone to cut it, but it's too straight to cut, so it's almost turns like a little slash, kind of between like a cut and a back foot drive. And I remember nicking it, and obviously your head turns around to see where it's going, and you're like, that's quite fine. So I'm going 2. I remember just starting to run and just shouting 2 at Davo, like, let's try and get a 2 because it's gone quite fine. And then obviously I think I turned before I get to turning for the 2. I have a look over my shoulder to see where it is to see if the 2 is on, and the ball's just about to hit the wall, and then it hits the wall, and then just went absolutely mental, and just the next sort of 10 seconds of just a bit of a blur, really. I remember just sort of celebrating on my own because obviously I've ran away from the only other person on the pitch that's in my team. And then I think Davo just turned around and ran back. You think he was still running the 2, and just unbelievable. And they were properly gutted. I don't think they even when we needed 4 or 3, I don't think they thought they were going to lose that.
Properly salty as well at the end of that game.
Yes.
To them, I mean, like for us on the balcony for that moment, anyone else that was up there will tell you the same thing. But it was just absolute mayhem. I mean, people were just hanging off the balcony, screaming, shouting. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on and on, and it was just mad. And and they were just after the game. All they could talk about was the fact that the penalty runs this and penalty runs that. But at the end of the day, like that is probably one of the most remarkable wins I've ever been part of. From where we were to where we got to, and for you to do what you did, that mate. I mean, that should go down in Bath club history, and hopefully those people that have listened to this up to this point will kind of have a bit of an appreciation for what happened that day. But that sort of paved the way, I guess, for the rest of the season and the cup run. And we had 2 wins after that. Obviously didn't go our way in the semi-finals, as has happened probably too often for our liking. But my lasting memory from that evening, because I remember it being a bank holiday. I can't have been if it was in June. I don't know. Maybe it was just I wasn't working on the Monday. But I remember everybody in the clubhouse celebrating. This is back in the days. I go into Bath Cricket Club now, and the clubhouse is amazing. I mean, it's so smart and shiny. I love all the boards everywhere. The food's amazing. The service is great. You feel like you're in a corporate venue, and it's brilliant. And I couldn't, you can't knock it, but the atmosphere we used to get in the clubhouse with the low ceilings and the bar sort of tucked away back there, and Mark Kingwell sticking his head out of the Taste on Parade, it just felt like it felt a lot closer. It felt like you just had so much more atmosphere in there. I think of all the great nights I've had at Bath CC, and they were all with the old clubhouse. And I remember everyone being in the bar celebrating, and a few of the Sully supporters came in, and they were sort of singing something at us. I can't remember what it was. And I remember Tom Baker, standing up, and he said, everyone was sort of sat around these tables, and he started singing, "Stand up if you're in the next round," and then like everybody stands up in the clubhouse and starts singing it behind him. And mate, it was a magical day. I guess from your perspective, is there anything that sort of top that day for you personally playing for Bath?
No, no. Some great sort of games to be involved in, like other games like the other ones you've mentioned. Like I've played in some of those, and watching other guys do. There's actually like having that kind of an impact on a game, and being the person sat in the change room watching someone's innings, or being on the field when someone's having one of those spells, like just destroying a team. Yeah, but as a player, no, I think that's pretty much the pinnacle for me. We're like taking, I think it was 3 wickets for not many, and then scoring runs at the bat, which didn't happen that often. Yeah, and it was just the manner in which we did it as a team. It was like, yeah, I scored some runs at the end, but as a team, as a bowling unit, we, like you say, we used 5 bowlers with Don bowling a couple of overs, so we all did a job, contained them as to a reasonable total. Because I'm pretty sure we were over to one side of the square, so you would have had a fairly short boundary.
Yeah.
Containing that, working well in the field, like Cats gets a run out, those kind of things. And then as a batting unit, we got over the line ultimately, and I was just lucky that I was the one at the end that did it. But it was. I still feel like it was a whole team, and I remember after the game sort of celebrating as a team in the changing rooms, and yeah, being pretty special day.
Yeah, I mean that's I think what we're all going to miss the most about being away from our respective changing rooms at this time, with everything that's going on, is that kind of that sort of camaraderie you have with your teammates, and it's the same wherever you go. I mean, I'm obviously playing at Frome now, and very much consider myself, a Frome cricketer these days. And the guys that I share a dressing room with over there, we have each other in stitches all day. You enjoy that sort of back and forth, and then when you win, things like just sitting out on the grass after a win, it's just, I guess that's what we're all going to miss. But hopefully, the one, or hope, maybe more listeners that are tuning in to hear us talk about some game that happened 11 years ago will at least have had a little bit of a cricket fix for the week. And Kegsy, many brilliant days in a Bath shirt, hat tricks, league titles, cup runs. You've done it all, mate. And I think everybody at Bath probably knows it, because seeing some of the messages that got chucked around at the end of last year for your 4th retirement was exactly what you deserved. So mate, I'm sure you will probably have many more great days on a cricket field in a Bath shirt, but just on the off chance that this is your final retirement, it's great to be able to wind the clock back, and talk about some of these games, because time passes and memories fade, but there were special days, and that was a special day for us.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear it from other people's view, because like obviously I have my own memories of what happened on that day, and same with any game of cricket is you always go away with your own memories. But it's always interesting to hear what, especially when you're batting, because it didn't happen to me much, but I'm sure it happened to yourself and other people who batters. You remember your innings from your perspective, but you don't know what the change room is like as the innings progresses, and we get like, especially in a run chase. And I've been on the balcony watching, yourself and JC and Lloyd and Stay and Staunce and all the other guys you mentioned earlier, like doing exactly that in a league game or a cup game. And yeah, when it gets close, and how the buzz it is on the change room, is you literally counting the runs down, and like how many overs has so and so got left, and all that kind of stuff's going on. But as a player in the middle, you kind of sometimes are completely oblivious to that, because you're just in a zone of just doing what you do. Because when I'm bowling, I'm like that. I'm just in a zone of just not really thinking about who they've got coming in next. I'm just thinking, right, this ball, and this is what I'm trying to do, and executing that. But hearing other people's sort of perspectives on it is really interesting.
Well, listen, mate, it's a special competition, and to the point that, well, it hasn't happened for you yet, but I played my last national knockout game 4 years ago now, and there is rarely a national knockout game that Bath play at home that I don't go and watch, because it just I would love to see the club win it one day, and they will. And when that day comes, there will be a little part of me that will be incredibly jealous of the journey that they will have been on to get to that point. But
I would definitely go to watch that. I'd love to be at the final to watch them do it because, like you say, it's been such a thing. And last year we got to the quarterfinals. It was going, like you say, you were at the last 16. I think it was at the Barnet Green. We played at home, and that was such an atmosphere at the ground. It was really good. And like you say, yourself, you come down, you get lots of other ex-players or people like other people from seconds, thirds, and fourths coming along, and it creates it's a different to the league games, and especially when you get to the knockout, the latter stages where you start playing teams you never played against, and you don't really know what they've got, and it's kind of that extra dimension to it, and everyone's just buzzing, and it's so much energy. But yeah, I'd be jealous, but I'd absolutely just love it to just so it's done. As like for a club, I think that's the only thing that's missing. Like the women have done it, I think twice. The juniors have done it. It's like it's just the one thing that's missing for us as a club, and I know, and it's kind of almost at the point of I think once we get one, it will open up the floodgates. I think will happen is that monkey off the back. Once you get one, it kind of makes it a bit easier, and I think we dominate the league, we do well. If we don't win it, we're there or thereabouts, and it's just this one last thing. But hopefully the guys can do it, and I say I'll be there watching. Maybe even run on the drinks if they want me.
Well,
if I can run. I
always drop them a text in July if they're still in it.
Yeah.
Available Sundays for the rest of the season. So I'm sure that won't change. Kegsy, it's been an absolute treat chatting to you today, mate. And if anybody out there is listening, I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Next week in the series, I don't know which one we're going to bring, but we've got some real great guests lined up. We've got JB, we've got Griff, we've got Bence is going to come on talk